Snow Joe that'll do the job. The secret is Snow Joe's exclusive Ion Plus lithium-ion technology that drives a heavy-duty, rubber-tipped steel blade auger, shredding snow without scratching the pavement. And they start with the push of a button. Call now for prices as low as $199.99 or just $19 a month online at snowjoetvoffer.com.
Prosecutors in Michigan say school officials at Oxford High School could face charges in last week's shooting. 15-year-old sophomore Ethan Crumbley accused of killing 4 students and wounding 7 more with a gun that his father bought him. His parents now charged with 4 counts each of involuntary manslaughter. They were called to the school the morning of the shooting over warning signs about their son. Now, a report that a neighbor had called Child Protective Services on the Crumbleys last year. So that continues to develop.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens in the end with who's charged.
Their bond is $500,000 each. They have not posted that.
15 past. Here we go. Story from yesterday. Yeah, and we'll see what happens. Great horse.
Their bond is $500,000 each. They have not posted that.
Suddenly dies. Here we go. Story to develop. Yeah, and we'll see what happens.
Their bond is $500,000 each. They have not posted
legend Bob Sutton's got this statement. He says, "My entire barn is devastated by this news. Medina Spirit was a great champion, a member of our family who was loved by all, and we are deeply mourning his loss. I will always cherish the proud and personal memories of Medina Spirit and his tremendous spirit." Clay Travis, founder of Outkick, with me now. Clay, how you doing? Good morning to you. There will be an autopsy of sorts on this animal. We'll see what happens here. New York Post says Medina Spirit's shocking death is another reason we should end horse racing. The circus is dead, it says. Dogfighting is almost completely eradicated. What will it take for us to save the racehorse? That's a question.
Look, thanks for having me on, Bill, and I love the New York Post. They're entertaining, they're a tabloid. This is an absurdly ridiculous take. Dogfighting often ends in the death of the dog. It is designed oftentimes to do so. Horse racing has tragic results, as any sport does, that involves the attempt to extend and surpass sometimes the point of endurance of any athlete, human or horse. And in this situation, it's certainly worse because of all the controversy that has already surrounded Bob Baffert and everything dealing with the Kentucky Derby suspension, and we'll have to wait on what the results are. But horses oftentimes have much larger hearts than normal, and so before we assume that there is something incredibly nefarious afoot here, I would say that it probably is at least the bare minimum to wait and see what the overall results of this medical examination show in terms of the cause of death. But the idea of banning horse racing is crazy.
Yeah, point taken, yes. Bob Baffert was on our program with Dan and me after that Derby and defended himself here on this program. Meanwhile, we've got this University of Pennsylvania swimmer. She swam on the men's team for at least 2 years, some say 3. And over the weekend in Akron, University of Akron, a big meet there, and her name is Leah Thomas. And she's just running away with some of these races, Clay. 500-yard freestyle was good for a new Ivy League record. Smashed the record on 7-second victory in the 200-yard freestyle. What do you think about this and the level of fairness for the other women?
It's absolutely
who are in the sport?
unfair. It's absolutely unfair, and frankly, I suspect that many of these women and many of the coaches of these women are terrified to say anything for fear that they will end up targets of the woke mob on social media. If you remember, Bill, this was an interesting analogy, I thought. There was a transgender weightlifter at the Olympics recently, and when all of the female competitors were asked about that situation, they all declined comment because I believe they were so terrified of saying what they really thought for fear of being targeted. And I suspect that's what's going on here as well. This swimmer for Penn, this transgender swimmer, set a new record by almost 15 seconds in the 500. That is shattering the all-time record and beating by everybody else by 15 seconds, I should say, in that particular race. This is not fair competition. There are some women who have been willing to file lawsuits associated with this, but it's only going to become more prominent. You're talking about a swimmer for the Ivy League male team at Penn. He was an excellent swimmer on that side. Same size. Men are, believe it or not, if you're upset by this is biology, bigger, stronger, and faster than women. So the idea that you can be male for 21 or 22 years, take a year off, suddenly decide that you're going to become a woman, and that's going to be a fair competition for all of these women who've been waking up early in the morning, training their entire lives to try to excel. It is the fundamental lack of fairness associated with athletics that needs to be examined and challenged.
Just one more point. NCAA rules mandate at least 1 year of testosterone suppression treatment in order to be eligible to compete as a woman. If that's the rule, in this case, Clay, they need better rules. Last comment.
No doubt. I think that's well said, Bill. There's no doubt at all. It's being clearly exploited in terms of the overall success that this woman is having relative to other women.
Thank you, Clay. We'll talk again very soon. Clay Travis with us from Outkick and more. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Nice to see you. You bet.
Well, a new study suggests remote learning is failing, with student achievement down sharply, particularly among those from low-income and minority households. Researchers looked at students from 3rd to 8th grades across 12 states. They found the number of those scoring proficient or above in math, it was down 14% from last year, and in language arts, down 6.3%. It's just a tragedy that could have been avoided. We know a lot more now that like shutting down the schools was not necessary. You think like 14% down, and how do you catch up?
I mean, they were telling us when it was happening, right? I mean, we reported on it every day. And here are the results. Not good.
You know, thankfully, with this new variant, they're not going to do any more lockdowns. With the school teachers unions should pay attention.
Right on that. 21 past, President Biden expected to deliver a stern message. We are told they are speaking now. This video conference, Dana, began a few moments ago with Vladimir Putin. This amid rising tensions over Ukraine. A lot of people think a Russian invasion is a very real possibility. Can we stop it? Dan Hoffman ahead on Biden's video call with Putin and how he's handling Russia's military aggression and other rogue threats around the world. Plus, a date still living in infamy, the sneak attack on Pearl Harbor 80 years ago today. In a moment, a live update on today's remembrances.
Your kindness outshines your highs and lows. Your strength can outlast any bad day because you are greater than your bipolar 1, and you can help take control of your symptoms and ask about Vraylar. Some medicines only treat the lows or highs. Once daily Vraylar is proven to treat depressive, acute manic, and mixed episodes of bipolar 1 in adults. Full spectrum relief for all bipolar 1 symptoms. Elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis have an increased risk of death or stroke. Call your doctor about unusual changes in behavior or suicidal thoughts. Antidepressants can increase these in children and young adults. Report fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, which may mean a life-threatening reaction, or uncontrollable muscle movements, which may be permanent. High cholesterol and weight gain, and high blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, may occur. Side effects may not appear for several weeks. Common side effects include sleepiness and stomach issues. Movement dysfunction and restlessness are also common. You are greater than your bipolar 1. Ask about Vraylar.
My name is Aaron. I've been with Facebook for 2 years now. I'm a product policy manager.
A lot of responsibility, especially on the content.
There's very little agreement whether we should be leaving more content up, taking more content down. With any particular rule or issue that we're looking at, we're not going to make everybody happy. Without regulation, we're really navigating that space as best we can. I think a standardized approach would help platforms all across the board define what the bounds of those rules should be.
Hi, my name is Tony Cooper, and I'm going to tell you about exciting Medicare Advantage plans that can provide broad coverage and still may save you money on monthly premiums and prescription drugs. With Original Medicare, you're covered for hospital stays and doctor office visits, but you have to meet a deductible for each, and then you're still responsible for 20% of the cost. Next, let's look at a Medicare supplement plan. As you can see, they cover the same things as Original Medicare, and they also cover your Medicare deductibles and co-insurance. But they often have higher monthly premiums and no prescription drug coverage. Now, let's take a look at Humana's Medicare Advantage plans. With a Humana Medicare Advantage plan, hospital stays, doctor office visits, and your Original Medicare deductibles are covered. And of course, most Humana Medicare Advantage plans include prescription drug coverage. In fact, in 2020, Humana Medicare Advantage prescription drug plan members saved an estimated $8,400 on average on their prescription cost. Most Humana Medicare Advantage plans include a Silver Sneakers fitness program at no extra cost. Dental, vision, and hearing coverage is included with most Humana Medicare Advantage plans. And you get telehealth coverage with a $0 copay. You get all of this for as low as a $0 monthly plan premium in many areas. And your doctor and hospital may already be a part of Humana's large network. If you want the facts, call right now for the free decision guide from Humana. There is no obligation, so call the number on your screen right now to see if your doctor is in our network, to find out if you could save on your prescriptions, and to get our free decision guide. Humana, a more human way to healthcare.
My name is Brigitte. I came from France quite a few years ago. Coming from a country where our idea of shopping for vegetable was to open the door, go into the garden, pick it up, bring it home. Every day we had fruits and vegetables, absolutely all day long. And I wanted to go back to that idea of being healthy and eating right. When I saw Balance of Nature, there was no chemicals. Everything was nature-oriented, and I said, wow, that sounds pretty good. So I walk a lot, and I think, you know, with Balance of Nature and my walking and being healthy, I think that just keeps me going. I walked 23 miles this week. I've been doing it for years and years, and it works for me. It got to work for everybody. What do you have to lose? I have no problem. Can be better than that.
Start now by going to balanceofnature.com and use discount code Fox News.
Veteran homeowners, with home values at all-time highs and rates at near all-time lows, now's the time to do more with your home equity. Veterans are calling New Day at a record pace to take advantage of the New Day 100 VA loan. You can borrow up to 100% of your home's value to upgrade the kitchen, add a pool for the grandkids, or have the security of cash in the bank. With an average cash out amount of $60,000, you can do more.
Call 1-844-934-2567.
This is the moment for Russia to pull back their military buildup at the border, that diplomacy is the right path forward here, but that we are going to continue to coordinate closely with our partners, our transatlantic partners, on a range of economic sanctions and steps that couldn't be taken should President Putin decide to move forward.
The White House warning the Kremlin to stay out of Ukraine or face serious consequences. Right now, President Biden is holding a secure video call with President Putin as the U.S. and Europe prepare harsh economic sanctions if Russian troops invade Ukraine. Dan Hoffman is a former CIA station chief and Fox News contributor. Got to ask you, Dan, is the threat of sanctions enough to deter President Putin?
Absolutely not, in my estimation. If past is prologue, we know that whatever sanctions we threaten Putin's regime with, and whatever sanctions we use, they're not going to change Vladimir Putin's calculus. Ukraine is an existential threat to Putin's regime's security. He would like us to believe that it's a military threat, but what really threatens Putin, it's not missiles or tanks, it's liberty and freedom. And Ukraine is a democracy that seeks membership in European Union and NATO, and that's a red line for Vladimir Putin. He's stated that as such. That's why he's got 100,000 plus troops on the border threatening Ukraine's independence.
Dan, the thing you wrote up here is it's extraordinary, and now I know why you were as good as you were in your job as a CIA analyst and station chief around the world. I'll just read one thing here. You say the threat of a Russian invasion is real. By January, Ukraine's terrain will be frozen and more easily accessible to invading forces. That's how you move trucks, and that's how you move tanks in a January winter.
Exactly, and that's what Vladimir Putin has done. He's moved his pieces on the chessboard. He knows he's going to induce a response from the United States and our allies. We can either provide Ukraine with the military assistance they need, that might be lethal maritime equipment or Patriot missiles, in order for them to defend themselves. If we do that, Putin might use that as a pretext to launch a military attack. If we don't do it, then Ukraine is vulnerable to Russian incursion. And the question for the Biden administration is, where do we stand? You know, NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg has said that Russia should not have a veto over Ukraine's foreign policy, including Ukraine's NATO membership. But we haven't really done enough as of yet to take Ukraine out of Russia's historical sphere of influence and control. And that is where I think we'll be looking to see what sort of reaction we get from today's call between President Biden and Putin.
Let's zoom out a little bit. The Wall Street Journal editorial board writing today, rogues are on the march around the world. Iran and Russia give every sign they don't take President Biden seriously. Continuing, the world is entering a dangerous period. The hard men in Moscow, Tehran, and Beijing are going to test Mr. Biden to expand their power and spheres of influence. And it isn't at all clear if or how Mr. Biden will respond. Let's get your measure of that from a bigger picture of the dangers in the world that we face now and the president 10 months into his term.
Yeah, I think dictatorships are on the march around the world at a level unprecedented since the Second World War. And you can add to the list that you made North Korea, which has a nuclear program and a ballistic missile capability of inflicting great harm on the region and beyond, all the way to our homeland. The Biden administration's chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan demonstrated not only that we're not as interested as we used to be in taking the fight to the enemy and defending ourselves overseas as we need to, but also that we're really unable to deliver the kind of effective foreign policy that we should have. We left U.S. citizens and our allies behind, and Afghanistan is now a terrorist state. And so I think that Iran and Russia and China all see opportunities to take advantage of that. And let's remember that those three countries are collaborating with one another. You know, Russia's been a longtime ally of Iran, and China and Iran are building a strategic relationship. We know that Russia and China are very close militarily. They conducted exercises together over the summer. So this is a dizzying array of threats to our national security. And if the Biden administration's not up to the task, then we will suffer the consequences.
Dan, that's a heck of a quote you just gave there. Dictatorships around the world are on the march. That's something else. For 4 years, that wasn't the case, with the exception of North Korea, and that pretty much was talked out into a stalemate, you could argue. What have they seen in 10 months that would enable them to move the way you're describing?
Well, Iran is a nuclear threshold state, or at least they're on the precipice of becoming one. And China and Russia have grown stronger and closer together. And I think they're all seeing an opportunity to do trade with one another. You know, Iran is evading the sanctions by exporting oil to China. And China knows that it can be a market for Russia's natural gas and oil. So if we think sanctions are going to impact Russia, no, the Russians will, at least for now, turn to China. And I think that's what we're seeing. And I think we've been seeing it build up, frankly, for the past few years. But now we're seeing the danger that this poses to us and to our allies.
What is the specific weakness that you're referring to here on behalf of this administration?
Well, I think this administration has relied on moral suasion and diplomatic tough talk. But at the end of the day, you've got to deliver concrete policy measures. I look back at the days of the Reagan administration, where the Reagan administration had real policy measures designed to confront the Soviet Union and deter Soviet expansion. All along the way, they conducted very high-value bilateral negotiations, which yielded, arms control agreements that to this day are of value to us. But if you don't have concrete policy measures, and that means shoring up our allies with military support, if we don't ensure that Taiwan is such a hard target that China would never dream of attacking, and the same for Ukraine, then we fail. And we know that sanctions aren't going to work. I think it makes some in this administration, as it did in the Obama administration, make it feel like they're doing something, but it's not enough.
Dan Hoffman, thank you so much for your thoughts this morning. This call with Putin is underway right now.
Yeah, you need to think about, if you cut off international banking to Putin and all of his cronies, you would think that would have an impact, right? If you cut off the construction of the Nord Stream pipeline, all that natural gas stops, and the potential for it to go to Western Europe and Germany is over. You think that would have an impact. What he's describing there is that they'll just go shop at another store, that store being Iran or China. So, Dan, thank you. Really interesting stuff from Dan Hoffman. All right, now today marks 80 years since the attack on Pearl Harbor. On that fateful day, more than 2,400 Americans were killed in the surprise attack by Japanese forces that pushed the U.S. into World War II. 40 survivors from Pearl Harbor are gathering in today to pay tribute to the many service members lost. William Lajeunesse is there live just before the sun comes up in Hawaii with more. William.
Well, Bill, for many servicemen here that day, Pearl Harbor was their first day of the war and their last. About 2/3 of those who died that you mentioned did so in the first 30 minutes. And for those who did survive, many feel like they've been living on borrowed time ever since. So let me tell you where we're at. We're literally on what was Battleship Row. You can see the Arizona, the Tennessee Pier would be right here, and the Maryland would be right there. Let's go back, and you can see it better on this map. Literally, you can see Ford Island surrounded by the Pacific Fleet, and then Japanese planes arrived or attacked here at 7:55 Sunday morning, and they focused their fire on those battleships. Torpedoes hit the West Virginia and Oklahoma, which capsized, and trapping 400 and killing 400 sailors inside. The California, Maryland, Tennessee, and Vestal, then the Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Utah, all damaged or destroyed. The Arizona was cut in half when a dive bomb penetrated its armored deck and exploded its ammunition below. 1,200 were killed, 900 of those sailors were never recovered. The Utah and Arizona today remain exactly where they sank, a watery grave and a final resting place for those who died.
I seen seamen jumping in the water covered with oil that was on fire. Most of them died in the water. Most of them died, and the rest of them died when they reached the beach.
Jack Holder is a 19-year-old Texas farm boy at the time, turned airman. He recalls diving in a ditch to avoid a hail of gunfire. Other survivors here recall pulling bodies and burning victims from the water.
Next thing I knew, a line of bullets were going past me about 15 feet away. I looked up and I saw the red ball on the fuselage of this airplane. I thought, my God, that's a Japanese plane. That's not our plane.
So vets have arrived here from around the United States to be here for the ceremonies. We'll have a flyby and a moment of silence at 7:55. That moment 80 years ago when this place erupted in a rain of bullets and bombs. And Bill, two things I did not know. Number one, whenever a ship passes the USS Arizona Memorial, all of the sailors are called on deck in their whites. They man the rails, they call it, and a salute to those who died here. So that's for 80 years that's been going on. Secondly, the Navy never repaired any of the buildings, the tarmac, the hangars where the bullet holes were left by the Japanese. Those divots are still here. Again, as a reminder to the generations that have come since then of what was given up, of protection of our life and our liberty and the freedom that we all owe those who died here 80 years ago.
Excellent reporting there, William. Very descriptive and appropriate for the moment. Thank you for that as we look at the USS Arizona there. 5:37 in the morning Hawaii time before sunrise. Thank you, William.
Well, Bill, more than half of Afghanistan is facing extreme hunger, and millions are displaced or even homeless. Months after the U.S. left and the Taliban took control. An update on conditions there. Plus, critics are slamming the White House for blaming rising crime in American cities on the pandemic. We'll ask Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna about that next.
All we ask for is to feel safe in our communities, to have safe schools, to have a safe environment, and ultimately for the law to be enforced.
Veteran homeowners, have you been spending more time at home, imagining the possibilities? Like a bigger kitchen, a swimming pool for the grandkids, or a backyard deck. Your VA Home Loan Benefit and the New Day 100 VA loan make it possible. By borrowing up to 100% of your home's value, you can take out up to $60,000 or more. With home values at all-time highs, now's the time to call.
Call 1-877-806-8357. Attention! Do you have Medicare? Did you know you may qualify to get up to $148 added back to your Social Security check every month? It's easy to see if you're eligible. Just call the Go Medicare Benefits Help Center at 800-990-3984. In addition to receiving $148 every month, you might also qualify for a $0 Medicare Advantage plan that includes the following benefits: dental, including fillings, exams, dentures; vision, including exams, frames, lenses, and even contacts; hearing, including hearing aids, batteries, and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost. The Go Medicare Benefits Help Center is open now at 800-990-3984. Both the call and the consultation are 100% free with absolutely no obligation to enroll. Call the Go Medicare Benefits Help Center now at 800-990-3984. That's 800-990-3984.
Hi, I'm William Devane. It's not too hard to imagine the pressure each administration has felt in the Oval Office, protecting our country, our economy, and our values from instability around the world. Those harmful forces still exist today, threatening to eat away at our personal assets, and that's why I buy gold. I buy my gold from Rosalind Capital because it helps me stabilize and control the value of the assets that I've worked so hard for. Rosalind's customer service is the gold standard. There are no gimmicks, no nonsense, no hassle. We as Americans need to safeguard our wealth because no one else will. And that's why I buy gold at Rosalind Capital. So ask yourself, are you safe? Give them a call.
Call Rosalind Capital now to get your free gold kit, your free silver kit, and your free IRA transfer kit. Call 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900.
Harris Faulkner puts America's news in focus.
We begin here demanding answers.
Don't miss the Faulkner Focus. Weekdays at 11 on Fox News Channel.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my brand new product, My Slippers. What makes My Slippers different from those other slippers is my exclusive 4-layer design. I wanted My Slippers to have everything you'd ever want in a pair of slippers.
When I first put my slippers on, I was like, wow, they feel great, and most importantly, they have the support that I need in a pair of slippers.
They're comfortable, they're elegant, and they make me feel like I'm at home, no matter where I'm wearing them.
I love my slippers. I never thought that I would have a pair of slippers that I felt comfortable wearing any place, anytime, anywhere.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen now to get your pair of My Slippers. Use the promo code and save 40%. The problem with ordinary slippers is they only provide basic support, have thin soles, and you just can't wear them comfortably all day.
My Slippers 4-layer design solves all these problems. The first layer is My Pillow's patented foam, which will help prevent fatigue and offer you incredible support. My second layer is a memory foam that will give you amazing comfort. And layer 3 is my patented impact gel that'll help reduce stress on your feet. And layer 4 is a durable outdoor-indoor sole so you can wear My Slippers anywhere, anytime.
You can enjoy My Slippers cooking in your kitchen or relaxing in your home, walking the dog, at a restaurant with friends, or running errands. You can wear My Slippers anytime, anywhere.
What I love most about my slippers is that I can wear them all day long and not have to change shoes. I am comfortable from morning till night.
Go online or call right now to order your very own pair of the new My Slippers. Use the promo code on your screen and save an incredible 40% off your My Slippers order. My Slippers features Mike's 4-layer design for the ultimate comfort.
I personally guarantee the first time you put them on, they'll be the most comfortable slippers you'll ever own.
We mentioned the story a moment ago. Now more than half the population in the country of Afghanistan is facing extreme hunger. This according to the UN, saying the conditions under Taliban control are only getting worse, with millions of Afghans displaced and homeless as temperatures fall below zero. Lots of Americans still stuck there as well, and Rich Edson's tracking that live in D.C. for us today. A lot of people said it was coming, Rich, and it's here. Good morning.
Yeah, Bill, a severe humanitarian crisis. A recent United Nations analysis says nearly 23 million Afghans potentially face acute food insecurity this winter. The Biden administration says the United States is the most generous country in providing aid to Afghanistan and says American officials warned the Taliban about this.
We were very clear that if they pursued a military path, they would be making a choice that would in many ways complicate our ability to continue to provide the same level of assistance that the United States and the international community had delivered in the past.
State says Afghanistan's problems are also the result of years of war, drought, and a lack of functioning financial system. Though the situation there has become much worse since the U.S. left. The Biden administration's critics say the consequences of the U.S. withdrawal this summer go well beyond Afghanistan. They argue the administration failed to plan and execute a competent withdrawal, which has cost the U.S. standing among its allies.
They are not turning to us and saying leadership at this moment in time. And we can't just continue to promise to be the partner of choice. We have to have action in this area and show the rest of the world that we are the partner of choice.
Now, the State Department has said about 81 Americans were still left in Afghanistan, and that number has fluctuated as the withdrawal has gone past about 4 months ago.
Wow. It is, listen, early December, we'll see what gives. Thank you, Rich. Rich Edson on that today in Washington.
A long winter ahead. Well, right now, President Biden and President Putin are having this video teleconference. It's happening. This is the Russian side, the state TV, putting this meeting out there for us to all enjoy. We don't have any coverage yet from the White House side, but anyway, you can just see the two leaders talking there. Lots to talk about, including the fact that there are nearly 100,000 Russian troops on the Ukrainian border. President Putin demanding that Ukraine not be allowed to join NATO. Biden's going to try to dissuade him from that with possible threat of sanctions. So we'll see what happens there.
A wave and a wave there, right, Dana?
Right. Well, the White House under fire for its response to a surge of smash and grab robberies. The administration calling it a result of the pandemic. Here to talk about it is Congressman Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California. Congressman, you tweeted that you appreciate the strong and smart response of police and law enforcement to the wave of organized robberies in our retail stores. Those who committed these acts must be held fully accountable. These crimes threaten safety and erode trust. They have no place in our community. But we have a colleague, friend, somebody who comes on the show. He's a commentator, Jerry Baker of the Wall Street Journal. He says this. I'll get your reaction. This latest manifestation of the grip it has on our ruling class is a disturbing reminder of how far progressive ideology has propelled the country towards social disintegration. It's not only about the Democrats who run big cities seeking to deflect any responsibility for the surge in crime. It is that this eagerness to find anyone to blame for crime other than the people committing it is a central feature of the nihilism eating away at the American identity. So those are some strong words as we try to deal with this smash and grab situation. Congressman.
Dana, I don't think this should be about politics. This is common sense. In this country, you're accountable for your actions. You should follow the rule of law. Cheating and stealing is wrong. We should be very clear. There is no justification for breaking into stores and stealing things. And I am working with the retail stores in my district with law enforcement to make sure that that doesn't happen. Separately, we can discuss other sociological issues, but people have choice in this country, and you have to be accountable for your actions.
But to ask you then, in Los Angeles, there's 14 people that were caught up in one of these smash and grab things. They were not arrested. They were basically just back out on the streets immediately after all of this happened. Would you want to see a change in that?
Yes, I mean, if you break the law, if you go into a store and you rob it, then you should be arrested and there should be a consequence to that. You can't just be released with no consequence. I don't think this is a Democrat, liberal, conservative issue. This is common sense. We teach our kids, you observe the law and you don't go in and steal. And I think we have to be very clear that that's the basic expectation in a democratic society.
In some of these cities, San Francisco being one, Los Angeles being the other, it doesn't seem like there are many consequences, but because of this bail policy, when you think about it, it's not working. You know, jails were built for a reason, right? You got to use them.
Well, Bill, I think there's a difference between cash bail, where sometimes people are saying, well, if you're poor, you shouldn't just be able to get out, versus saying just let people out. Even those who are saying move away from a cash bail system are saying if someone is a threat, if someone is going to commit a crime again, then they need to be still in jail. And so I think that we need to have common sense reform. The point is, look, if people are concerned about income inequality, of course that's an issue. But I think it's insulting to poor people to say just because you're poor, you're going to go into a store and rob it. There are a lot of poor people, there are a lot of working class people who don't do that because of the values they grew up in. No American should be able to go into a store and rob it. That's just wrong.
Well, here's what the LAPD detective Jamie McBride says. Bad guys are released quicker than we can finish the paperwork. That's a revolving door, whether you're rich, poor, or middle class.
Well, I don't think that we ought to be just releasing people and not having accountability. I am for making sure people aren't locked up in jail because they can't afford bail, but that has to be replaced if you're moving in that system with something that says if you're a threat, if you're going to break the law again, if you're a threat to public safety, then there has to be accountability. And you certainly have to be arrested and held accountable for breaking into a store and stealing. There can be no justification for that.
There might be some common ground there then. All right, Congressman Ro Khanna, good to see you. Have a good Tuesday.
Thank you, sir, for coming on.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
In a moment, meet a country music star encouraging women to embrace how imperfectly perfect they are. She's got a new book, Getting Good at Being You. We'll talk to her coming up next.
This is my grown-up Christmas list. This is my grown-up Christmas list.
Those drops you'll see probably won't touch me. I want to stay for the holidays.
If your dry eye symptoms keep coming back,
What? No!
over-the-counter eye drops typically work by lubricating the eyes and may provide temporary relief. Xiidra works differently, targeting inflammation that can cause dry eye disease. It can provide lasting relief. Xiidra is the only FDA-approved non-steroid eye drop specifically for the signs and symptoms of dry eye disease. One drop in each eye twice a day. Don't use if you are allergic to Xiidra. Common side effects include eye irritation, discomfort or blurred vision when applied to the eye, and unusual taste sensation. Don't touch container tip to your eye or any surface. After using Xiidra, wait 15 minutes before reinserting contacts. This holiday, ask your doctor about Xiidra.
Veteran homeowners, New Day's rates have dropped again. It's time to refinance. New Day's low rate refi offers their lowest rate in history, 2.25%, just 2.48 APR. Save thousands every year, and there are no upfront costs, not $1. The New Day low rate refi. Take advantage of these record low rates so you and your family can save.
Call 1-855-571-5123.
Hard to wrap. Easy to give. From big presents to stocking stuffers, the Steel Holiday Gift Guide has something for everyone. Find yours at steelusa.com/gift guide.
I love you guys so much. The People's Choice. This is amazing. Thank you.
It's the People's Choice Awards.
It's bigger every year.
Hosted by me, Keenan Thompson. Check it out. Live. Check your local listings.
Helen knew exercise could help her diabetes, but she didn't know what was right for her. No. Nope. No way. But then Helen went from no to no. With Freestyle Libre 2, now she knows what activity helps lower her glucose and can see what works best for her. Take the mystery out of your glucose levels and lower your A1C. Now you know. Freestyle Libre 2, now covered by Medicare for those who qualify.
Attention! Do you have Medicare? Did you know that you may qualify to get up to $144 added back to your Social Security check every month? It's easy to see if you're eligible. Just call the Go Medicare Benefits Help Center at 800-946-8120. In addition to receiving $144 every month, you might also qualify for a $0 Medicare Advantage plan that includes the following benefits: dental, including fillings, exams, and dentures; vision, including exams, frames, lenses, and even contacts; hearing, including hearing aids and batteries; and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost. The Go Medicare Benefits Help Center is open now at 800-946-8120. Both the call and the consultation are 100% free with absolutely no obligation to enroll. Call the Go Medicare Benefits Help Center now at 800-946-8120. That's 800-946-8120.
What's my Safe Flight story? My truck is my livelihood. So when my windshield cracked, the experts at Safe Flight Auto Glass came right to me with service I could trust. Right, Bill?
Safe Flight Repair, Safe Flight Replace.
Why are more and more savvy people turning to gold? Is it to get rich quick? No. Billionaires are buying gold and they're already rich. People often own gold for life's uncertainties, to try to preserve the purchasing power of their hard-earned dollars, to provide peace of mind during financial chaos, and to protect against the unexpected. With new global chaos, supply chain disruptions, or sudden turmoil, uncertainty around the world could not be greater. And the remedy for uncertainty has been gold. Help secure your wealth with the certainty of gold from Lear Capital. For over 25 years, we've helped those who wish to safeguard assets from sudden volatility. Call now for your gold decision guide. Whether you're interested in adding gold to your IRA or buying for home delivery, Lear Capital is here to help. When you call, ask how you can get $5,000 in bonus gold. Call 800-889-8000. 800-889-8000. 800-889-8000.
Liberal policies are letting brazen criminals rage through our cities. We cannot tolerate this. A detective says Los Angeles looks like a scene from the movie The Purge. Plus, the White House is forced to come up with some answers about the vice president's staff quitting. The whole mess is raising questions about Kamala Harris's fitness for the job. And right now, President Biden on that high-stakes phone call with the Russian leader, Vladimir Putin. Congresswoman Kat Kamat, Joe Concha, Morgan Ortegas, the Faulkner Focus, top of the hour.
I love that song, and country music star and former American Idol contestant Lauren Elena shares personal stories and advice in a new book, hoping her experience will encourage readers to learn how to accept themselves and grow spiritually. Lauren joins us now. Her book, Getting Good at Being You, is out today. Congratulations. I had a chance to look at this book. Tell me who you dedicated it to.
I dedicated it to any young woman out there that needs it. I wish I could have read this book when I was 16. I really could have used this advice, but I guess I had to live through all of that.
One of the things you say is to embrace being a holy hot mess. What do you mean by that?
If you ever met me, you would know. I am a mess altogether, but my faith is super, super important to me. It's the foundation of who I am. So I balance it out.
Well, I mean, I think that one of the things you're saying in this book is that there's a lot of young women they have a lot of anxiety. They think that they need to be something that they're not, and that if you embrace who you are more likely to succeed.
Yeah, so I am a curvy woman, and I spent about 8 years of my life trying not to be that. And when I finally embraced who I am and overcame my eating disorder and started loving myself, I became a much happier person. And I think a lot of times in society now, we're told we're either too much or too little or too this or too that, when in reality, we're exactly who we were made to be. And if we can learn to accept and love ourselves, life is a lot better.
I agree. And congratulations on all of your success, obviously. You also talk in this book, there's a chapter called My Kind of People, and you talk about the importance of volunteering. I know that you've done a lot of work with the Special Olympics, but what is your message to young women about the importance of trying to get outside of yourself and your comfort zone and helping others?
So my chapter, My Kind of People, is actually named after my foundation, which is called My Kind of People. And basically what my foundation does is partner with other organizations to raise awareness and money for them. And I've been able to do so many amazing things while I've been out on tour. I've gotten my fans involved. It's just been really amazing. Yeah. And I would say the thing that I would like to say the most about it is everyone wins. The volunteer and the people who you're volunteering for, everyone wins. And organizations that need help, especially right now, everyone needs help. I mean, there are so many people struggling right now, and everybody wins when you can give back.
You just announced a big tour, Top of the World tour. You are on Top of the World. I encourage everyone to get the book. I thought it was really great, and you can find out on page 58. Her family likes to eat mashed potato sandwiches. She says, "Don't knock it till you try it." So I might do that over Christmas, Lauren. Congratulations and thank you. Take care.
Thank you so much.
She's adorable.
She's sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the book. Is really good. I was looking at it.
Good stuff. All right. So we. Speaking of books.
Yeah, I got a book. I got a book.
I got a book.
I got the All-American Christmas book. You have a chapter in here.
You have a chapter. Do we have time for this?
Yeah. 40 seconds, go.
Okay, so yesterday we were on, and you said, "I haven't read your chapter, Billy," and I said, "No, I haven't read your chapter," and it was the radical honesty element that was present.
But now we have read each other's chapters.
I read your chapter. What exception do you take with mine? Quickly.
Well, you say you have 5 siblings, and then I thought you only had 4 siblings.
Yeah, 4.
So fact check true
Okay.
on that. But you know what I loved?
What's that?
I think that you really embody your grandfather, George Kittle.
Niddle.
Niddle, excuse me. The
K
K is silent. The K is silent. Niddle. I mean, he sounds like you. He's an amazing man, super generous, really lovely, loves everyone, had good friends with everyone.
Good man, good spirit. Tomorrow, I'm going to evaluate Dana's Christmas as a child.
Great book. Everyone should get it. Here's Harris.
We begin with this Fox News alert. All that bail reform by Democrats is creating a horrifying new normal, and it is spreading. Police arrest criminals who end up back on the streets within hours, and the far left is showing no signs of backing down from this controversial policy. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. Last week in Los Angeles, 14 suspects tied to a string of smash-and-grab robberies were out on the streets just hours after police had arrested them. The union chief, who represents nearly 1,000 prosecutors in LA County, is accusing the district attorney, George Gascon, of staying completely silent despite the explosion of violent crime. So the lawyers are fighting over this now. In New York City, a homeless man charged with beating a person last year was let back out on the streets. He did it again. He's out free again. Republican Congressman Jim Jordan says Democrats only have themselves to blame.
This is intentional. The Democrats have legitimized crime. When you defund the police, you shouldn't be surprised when you get more crime. When you get rid of bail, you shouldn't be surprised when you get more crime. Maybe instead of focusing on that, they'd just focus on the real issues. We'd be in a lot better position.
So we know why it's happening. We got to fix this. Florida Republican Kat Cammack is in focus. First, Jonathan Hunt reporting live for us in Los Angeles. Jonathan.
Good morning, Harris. Los Angeles has, of course, seen a rash of smash-and-grab robberies since the recent wave began in San Francisco and moved south. High-end stores, malls, pharmacies, and cannabis dispensaries all targeted in recent weeks, and law enforcement has responded, including arresting the 14 who were then quickly released under a zero bail that was introduced at the beginning of the pandemic as a way to reduce LA's crowded and therefore deemed at-risk prison population. Police chiefs claim that policy, along with other justice reforms, are at the root of the current problem.
We're catching the criminals, and the problem is we're catching them over and over again, and they're being released very quickly without bail, and they're not staying in prison. So we just continue to deal with the same people again and again.
Now, the zero bail move was made before LA County District Attorney George Gascon took office. But as the lead prosecutor here, his critics still want to see tougher action from him. And a group of activists is now launching a second recall attempt against the DA, having failed badly in their first effort earlier this year. And other district attorneys are hitting out at Gascon and others for their reform agendas.
This is rampant, it's systemic, and yet George Gascon and Chesa Boudin in San Francisco and all these woke district attorneys across the country, they're doubling down.
Now, the LA County DA's office refutes that and says of the recent spate of robberies here, quote, "We will hold those responsible accountable." Now, bail reform, obviously, Harris, an increasingly big issue in several cities across the country, including New York, of course, with the news you mentioned at the top. A homeless man who beat 2 women in the city last week, now out on supervised bail because the charges, according to the DA's office, are not harsh enough to have the man held on bail. Both women were allegedly punched in the face. Both needed hospital treatment for their injuries.
Let me get this straight. You got to kill somebody, I guess. I mean, it's got to be that dire for them to even think you deserve bail. So how can they stop recidivism if that's the point? These are rhetorical for you, Jonathan. I'm going to get into it now. Appreciate the reporting. Thank you. Los Angeles PD Detective Jamie McBride says soft on crime policies have wrecked Los Angeles. And it could happen to your city.
Los Angeles is like the movie Purge, but instead of 24 hours to commit your crime, they have 365 days to go out and commit their crimes. And that's how it is right now. It is so violent. We're telling people don't visit because we don't think we can keep you safe right now. And that's just sad to say.
Are you familiar with the movie Purge? Because it's important. He was starting to explain it there. For a 12-hour period, you can do anything you want. You can commit murder, whatever. It's the premise of the movie. It is so gory when you watch it. And that's what he says LA feels like now. Country superstar John Rich tweeted this: "When you disarm law-abiding citizens and turn loose the violent criminals, you get current-day Los Angeles. I don't know how anyone can live there at this point." This issue is personal for my first guest. Her husband is a SWAT medic, a firefighter, and a paramedic. Kat Cammack, Republican Congresswoman from Florida, member of the House Homeland Security Committee, is in focus. So we know what's causing it. How do we fix this? And better yet, how do we get the White House to even acknowledge that this is going on? Come on, talk to the country about this. Why won't they?
You know, it's wild to me, Harris. You know, they can't even acknowledge that we have a crisis on our southwest border. We have hundreds of thousands of gotaways, which are criminals, gang members, sex offenders, pouring into our communities. They want to defund police. They want to take away guns from law-abiding citizens. And somehow they're still in a position to continue to deny that there's something bad happening, despite the fact that all of the data is pointing to a sharp increase in crime. And Americans that are Republicans, Democrats, Independents, all across America are screaming for something to be done. You hit on it. This is personal for me. I can't tell you how frustrating it is as the wife of a first responder to see my husband go out on these SWAT calls, some of the most dangerous situations you can find yourself in, and then they apprehend these violent criminals, and then the next day they're back out on the street doing the exact same thing that they were just locked up for. What's the point? And I think that frustration is what is pointing every single American towards 2022 midterms, saying, you know what, we need to get back to the basics. If this administration is not going to do their one job, which is keep us safe nationally and then to support those that are standing up and fighting to protect us, then we need to put people in office who will. And that's why you're going to see a red wave coming, because the crime across the country, it is sad. And you hit on it. It's like the movie The Purge. People have no accountability, no consequences, and you have Democrats that are allowing this to continue to go on. It's ludicrous.
You know, that's next November. I mean, this is ticking up so quickly, and you're right, the voters will be the people who have to fix it.
Yes.
I mean, think about that. We got to live many, many more months through this. You mentioned that it was personal. Your husband is there, along with his team that he works with. And there are teams across the country who answer the call when you call 911. Portland police with a very frightening warning yesterday. The department had to tweet this. Due to critical incidents and staffing shortages, officers were only responding to priority calls. Warning response times are going to be delayed for certain calls. I'm reading that they're hours long. It comes as the city has hit a grim milestone, Congresswoman. 80 murders so far this year, surpassing the city's all-time high of 67 killings for the entire year, and that was way back in 1987. Last year, the department lost 84 police officers. They either retired or quit when the Portland City Council cut the budget by $15 million, and now the council is scrambling to fix the problem.
Imagine that.
Yeah, $5.2 million was just restored to the budget. The problem is you can't replace what you lost. You lost experience on the job.
Absolutely. You know, my husband, he's been a member of our local communities department for 14 years, coming up on 15 in March. When you talk about the institutional knowledge that comes and experience that comes with being a first responder, a law enforcement officer, there's just some things you can't teach in a book or a class. That comes with real world experience. But when you vilify these men and women who wear the badge, and then you take away the critical life-saving resources that they need to do their job, and then you force an unconstitutional mandate on them saying they need to get the jab or they have no job, you are just hit with a trifecta of issues that is going to drive good men and women out of the profession, and they're going to go find a community that values and respects them, and they may not even be in the law enforcement profession anymore. I can speak from experience because we just had to fight this battle in Gainesville, and I can tell you when it comes to SWAT teams, especially these high-risk situations with gangs and violent offenders, when you have leaders like the Biden administration, like Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas, when you have people like that, AG Merrick Garland, telling and sending out memos that they need to be soft on crime, and let's not mince words here, they are literally pushing down directives to be soft on crime, release criminals, and of course, that right there is the message that gets sent to our first responders saying it doesn't matter that you were trained and equipped to do a job. We don't want you to do that job because if you do, we're going to punish you for it. I can tell you back in March when I took my husband's SWAT vest up here to the Capitol to fight against the defunding of police, when I got home, my husband got written up for that. That is what we are up against.
You doing your job, he got written up at his job.
Yes, and that is when we have a Democrat-run city like Gainesville, and we, the people who are fighting for our first responders in the front lines, he got written up a perfect record, blemished by something that I did in defense of his department. That is what we're up against, and this is just one of thousands of stories that I have heard from spouses and first responders across the country. The crime is going to be a major issue going into these midterm elections, and I'm going to be sure that in the 118th Congress, all of our first responders, law enforcement officers and their families know that they have someone in Washington who's got their back. It's time to hold these ridiculous liberal DAs and prosecutors accountable for this ridiculous so-called bail reform. We're going to get tougher on crime, and we're going to actually enforce the laws on the books.
So I am sorry that happened. In America, we have freedom of speech, and on the Hill, you have a nickname that they've given you, and that is a rock star broker of deals, right? But when you speak up, your husband, a first responder, pays the price on the job. Now, that's a story that we don't hear. And you're right, we need to hear from the people, from the families of these first responders and police officers, because you're giving us another side to all of this. And you talked about the layering of the vaccine mandates, the jab for the job, so on and so forth. If you speak up and it costs them their livelihood, that affects the spouse, it affects the community. I'll give you a last word on this, because Democrats, as you said, are going to get a punch at the polls over this very issue in midterms in 2022.
They are. I think Americans have realized that they have had enough. It's enough government interference. It's enough of big government telling them how to live their lives. It is truly the undermining of who we are as Americans, not Republican versus Democrat, but just as Americans. And when these liberal left policies want to undermine who we are and how we operate down to the community level, that is when people, everyday citizens, are standing up and saying, I've had enough. And they are going to go to the polls and they're going to vote hell no for this Biden-Pelosi agenda.
Real quickly, we had just popped up the party popularity, and you can see for Democrats, they're underwater with people saying that they approve them. And by the way, I mean, we're talking to independents, we're talking to everybody. Republicans a little bit better. There's enough movement in the blue side.
Yes.
For Republicans to start to take advantage of this all these months out, because the crime doesn't seem to be slowing down. I appreciate your time so much today and you sharing what's going on from your perspective and also on Capitol Hill. Congresswoman from Florida, thank you very much.
Thank you, Harris. Have a great week.
You too. Well, that was eye-opening. President Biden taking fire now from his critics ahead of his high-stakes video call with Vladimir Putin of Russia.
Joe Biden will go down in history as one of the most, if not the most pro-Russian U.S. president that we've ever seen. They know that Joe Biden is projecting weakness on the world stage, maybe worse than we've ever seen it before.
So they started that call last hour, and we'll get into what to expect from the president's call, as one Democratic senator says a Russian invasion of Ukraine would be our next Afghanistan. Oh my goodness, what's going on behind the scenes? Let's dig deep. Someone who'll know. Former State Department spokesperson and our friend here on The Focus, Morgan Ortagus, is in focus. Plus, maybe she was never really ready for primetime? I don't know. It's a question people are asking. The recent reports of turmoil and staff turnover in the vice president's office, raising questions about her fitness for the office.
This program is brought to you by Voya Financial. Be confident to and through retirement.
My retirement plan with Voya keeps me moving forward, even after paying for this. Love you, sweetheart. They guide me with the cheap little steps that give me confidence. This is my granddaughter. She's cute like her grandpa. Voya doesn't just help me get to retirement, they're with me all the way through it.
Come on, Grandpa.
Okay. Later. Got grandpa things to do.
Grandpas are the best. Well planned, well invested, well protected. Voya, be confident to and through retirement.
Vision insurance doesn't do you any good if you don't use it. Just like this treadmill I bought that I keep saying I'll use, but never do. Yeah. With hundreds of frames to choose from, you can put your vision insurance to good use at America's Best. Book an exam today.
Surprise!
It's a new Buick.
You got me a new Buick?
Oh, and there are more gifts inside.
I don't even know what to open first.
How about this?
You got me the head-up display.
Heated steering wheel, the massaging seat. Do you love it?
Okay, what next?
What's this, Mom?
Alexa, turn on holiday lights.
This year, give the gift of technology in every Buick SUV.
You're a one-man stitchwork master, but your staffing plan needs to go up a size. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Indeed Instant Match instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description. Visit Indeed.com/hire.
Are you on Medicaid or Medicare? The U.S. government recently announced that 12.2 million citizens are eligible for additional benefits beyond what they received from the original Medicare or Medicaid.
These benefits include up to $3,500 of dental credit, up to $1,272 to spend at your local pharmacy, up to $144 added back to your Social Security check every month.
It's easy to see if you qualify.
Just call Go Medicare at 800-440-5209.
And see if you're one of over 12 million who may qualify.
For up to $3,500 of dental credit, up to $1,272 to spend at your local pharmacy, and up to $144 added back to your Social Security check every month.
This call is 100% free with no obligation to enroll. So call today.
At 800-440-5209. That's 800-440-5209. Go Medicare. We get you more benefits.
Real cowboys get customized car insurance with Liberty Mutual, so we only pay for what we need.
Hey, Tex, can someone else get a turn?
Yeah, hang on, I'm back breaking on record. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Say it's all right. Say it's all right. It's all right. Have a good time, 'cause it's all right. Now listen to the beat. at your feet. It's alright, have a good time, 'cause it's alright, oh, it's alright.
Veteran homeowners, need a financial boost? The new Day 100 VA loan lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value and take out up to $60,000 or more. Give them a call.
Call 1-866-612-0304.
Veteran homeowners, with home values at all-time highs and rates at near all-time lows, now's the time to do more with your home equity. Veterans are calling New Day at a record pace to take advantage of the New Day 100 VA loan. You can borrow up to 100% of your home's value to upgrade the kitchen, add a pool for the grandkids, or have the security of cash in the bank. With an average cash out amount of $60,000, you can do more.
Call 1-866-612-0304.
These homeowners didn't learn about home title fraud until their homes were stolen. Here's what they wish they'd known.
Nobody thinks that I can take their house. Nobody thinks that. No, it's in my name, or he would have to get some special document. They would call me. You know, nobody's calling you.
This exact thing happened to my aunt and uncle in California, and they lost their home.
With home title fraud growing 2.5 times faster than credit card fraud, ask yourself, is your home title locked? Secure your property today with the Home Title Lock Alert System. If we detect a filing on your property, an immediate alert is sent directly to you.
The worst thing that could happen for someone like me is the homeowner or law enforcement gets notified while I'm doing the home title lock. It can get me in the middle of the crime. That's huge.
Sign up today and receive a free home title scan to find out if you're already a victim. So don't wait. Sign up at HomeTitleLock.com now.
Breaking news now, and we have just checked. President Biden is still on that video call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The president expected to warn Putin that Russia will face jarring economic sanctions if it invades its neighbor, Ukraine. Russia has already massed tens of thousands of troops along the border with Ukraine. Republican Senator Tom Cotton says the crisis is of President Biden's own making.
Joe Biden has no one to blame but himself for this situation in Russia. I would say this call is even an example of how he's appeasing Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin builds up 175,000 troops on Ukraine's border, and what does Joe Biden do? He rushes off to the Situation Room to get on a video call with them to beg him not to invade Ukraine when he's unwilling to specify exactly the kind of measures that the United States will lead Europe in taking should he invade Ukraine.
Well, we are perched to see what they talk about on that call. White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich now has more from the North Lawn while we all wait.
Hey there, Harris. Well, Russian state media allowed the press to go inside to get a short video spray off the top of that call between Biden and Putin. The White House did not allow American press any access. And in the clip that was released by the Russian state media, you can hear President Biden telling Putin, "I hope next time we can meet in person." Take a listen.
Приветствую вас, господин президент.
There you go. Hello.
Добрый день.
Good to see you again. Unfortunately, last time we didn't get to see one another at the G20. I hope next time we meet, we do it in person.
The Kremlin also released this picture of the call, notably snapped with Biden in this pose, appearing to be waving. The stakes are very high for the call. Putin wants President Biden to commit that Ukraine won't ever be allowed into the NATO military alliance, but Biden is going to threaten severe and significant economic sanctions, including one that Russia sees as economic warfare. That would be cutting them off from the SWIFT system. It enables all of their international financial transactions. Western allies actually considered that move back in 2014 when Russia invaded Crimea, but they ultimately backed off. This time, we are told it is on the table only as a last resort.
We've consulted significantly with our allies and believe we have a path forward that would impose significant and severe harm on the Russian economy. You can call that a threat, you can call that a fact, you can call that preparation, whatever you want to call it.
Now, ahead of this call, the administration repeatedly signaled to Russia that there was still an off-ramp available. The CIA, Secretary of Defense, also multiple officials within the White House saying that they weren't sure if Putin had really finalized his decision to use force, so allowing a bit of an off-ramp there. They also touted space for diplomacy to work, but there are calls for the president to project strength from the White House. So far, there's been no talk of sending troops or any lethal aid, but recall back in 2014, when President Biden was vice president, he wrote in his memoir that he pressured then President Obama to send lethal aid to Ukraine when Russia took Crimea, and Obama, Biden wrote, repeatedly rejected that idea. Now he might find himself in a similar position. Of course, this call is ongoing. It's expected to last a couple of hours.
That might be why some critics among the Democrats are calling this potentially another Afghanistan. I mean, if Biden starts a freelance on it in that way, that detail is important to know. Appreciate that report, Jackie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Retired four-star general and Fox senior strategic analyst Jack Keane says the Russian leader, like other enemies of America, sees Biden as weak.
I'm convinced that the reason why we have acceleration from China, from Iran, and from Russia, there is a perception here that this presidency and this administration is more about accommodation and appeasement than it is about confronting and countering the strategic objectives of these three adversary countries. I believe the reason for this is they see weakness here.
In focus now, Morgan Ortegas, former State Department spokesperson under former President Trump. Morgan, good to see you. Look, a bottom line this for us. I mean, if Biden does what Jackie Heinrich, our reporter, just described, if he puts lethal assets in Ukraine, what happens?
Well, you have to have a strategy that's comprehensive. So Jackie talked about potentially taking Russia out of the SWIFT banking system. We talked about aiding Ukraine. What you have to do, what the administration has to do, is come to Putin with a comprehensive way of looking at this. And no matter what actions we do, there has to be teeth behind it. See, that's the difference. Everyone asks me, does sanctions work? Will taking Russia out of SWIFT work? Well, none of these actions work on its own in a silo. What works is whenever you have the credible threat of force, when you have a president that comes from a position of strength behind them. For example, when we pursued the maximum economic pressure campaign against Iran, we also took out Qasem Soleimani. We also knew the Iranians knew that President Trump meant business, right? So you can't take any of these actions and say, we're going to do X and expect them to stop. What you have to do is say, we're going to sanction the hell out of your energy industry. We're going to take your banks out of SWIFT and effectively out of the international banking system. And you know what? We're going to arm Ukraine to the teeth. They may not be able to beat you one-on-one in a fight, but we're going to give them enough weaponry to make it bloody and to make it very costly for you. And it's important, Harris, to deter Putin, to deter the Russians here, because if we don't deter them on Ukraine, then we're effectively losing Europe to the Russians, and the Chinese are watching and just waiting for the Olympics to be over, I bet, so they can pursue what they want to pursue in Taiwan.
Yeah, thank you for putting that in context. How that one thing may be on the table about lethal assets, but it needs to be along with those other things. You know, my next question has to be what Russia thinks of us. You heard General Jack Keane talking about how they probably see us as weak, as many of our enemies do now. Biden said yes to a Russian pipeline in Eastern Europe, but he closed Keystone. Can you talk about how something like that plays in on the world stage?
Well, that is effectively giving them the money and the lifeline that they need to help. They have a very fledgling economy, right? Russia has a lot of problems. Let's not overestimate where they are in the world. They have a population that's decreasing. They're just not having enough babies there. And they have an economy that diminishes every year. So getting this pipeline is crucial to them because it's going to help them economically. Mind you, let me just say, Senator Lummis from Wyoming pointed this out last week. The pipeline is not climate friendly. From an energy perspective, from a climate change perspective, it would be more effective to send our American gas to Europe. That is more climate friendly than the pipeline.
I don't think Russia cares.
Not only Not only, well, no, the Russians don't, but the Biden administration is greenlighting something that's not climate friendly. I thought that was the whole point of why they're here in their minds. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that was what was said about Keystone. It's why they're eyeing Michigan's Line 5 that affects millions of people across several states in the United States. So, but what you're saying, though, is the bottom line, hypocrisy is on the table.
Hypocrisy is on the table because they impeached President Trump for supposedly not giving lethal aid to Ukraine in time. When these people that are in power now were in the Obama administration, they effectively did nothing to help Ukraine. Now they're in power again, and Russia is again looking to invade Ukraine. I mean, history is literally repeating itself.
Russia's going to Russia. They're communists. Morgan Ortegas, I'll see you next hour for Outnumbered. Thanks for coming by and Focus with your expertise. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, the hits keep coming for CNN. Chris Cuomo's firing, getting a lot of attention, and now we've learned his colleague Don Lemon also had his hand in a high-profile criminal investigation. Plus this.
To be described as a bully, soul-destroying criticism, she's obviously not someone who plays very well with others.
Claims of Vice President Harris being a bully, being a soul-destroying boss, raising new questions about her fitness for the job. Not just personal, it gets professional now. Joe Concha in Focus next.
Veteran homeowners, you made a smart move when you bought your home. Now make another one and turn your equity into cash. With the New Day 100 VA loan, you can take out up to $60,000 or more.
Call 1-833-824-5593.
Veteran homeowners, with home values at all-time highs and rates at near all-time lows, now's the time to do more with your home equity. Veterans are calling New Day at a record pace to take advantage of the New Day 100 VA loan. You can borrow up to 100% of your home's value to upgrade the kitchen, add a pool for the grandkids, or have the security of cash in the bank. With an average cash out amount of $60,000, you can do more.
Call 1-833-824-5593.
Attention! Are you on Medicaid or Medicare? The U.S. government recently announced that 12.2 million citizens are eligible for additional benefits beyond what they receive from original Medicare or Medicaid. These additional benefits include up to $1,000 of dental credit, up to $1,200 to spend at your local pharmacy, up to $144 added back to your Social Security check every month. To see if you qualify, call Go Medicare today at 800-798-3408. Again, if you have Medicare or Medicaid, you may be one of over 12 million citizens eligible for additional benefits, including up to $1,000 of dental credit, up to $1,200 to spend at your local pharmacy, up to $144 added back to your Social Security check every month. To see if you qualify, call the Go Medicare Benefits Help Center at 800-798-3408. Both the call and the consultation are 100% free with no obligation to enroll in anything. Call today, 800-798-3408.
All the gifts you really, really, really can't wait to unwrap. Joy fully.
This holiday season, give your family the gift that keeps on going.
Her very own Energizer Bunny?
Energizer Ultimate Lithium. The #1 longest lasting AA battery.
One party rule. What has 1 year of Democrat control of Washington given us? Shortages, inflation, crime, chaos, division, and failure. One party, 1 year. I'm Kevin McCarthy. Together we can stop Joe Biden's disastrous agenda. We can end one-party rule, fire Nancy Pelosi, and take our country back. Go to firepelosi.com to join our fight. I'm Kevin McCarthy, and I approve this message.
McCarthy Victory Fund is responsible for this advertisement.
I'm Dr. Brendan White. I've been an optometrist for 29 years now. I started taking Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables 20-something years ago, and I've been taking it ever since. My practice is called Envision Eye Health. We're all about preventative eye care. One of the things established from eye research is fruits and vegetables are good for our eye health. So I've always liked Balance of Nature from that sense. And the concept is clear from the title. This is the way our nutrition was meant to be acquired, through fruits and vegetables. So my favorite question I get when I'm working in my clinic is, "Doctor, well, what do you do?" And I tell them, I take Balance of Nature. It's a great product, and I can't think of another product that has a more broad-reaching scale of things that it can improve in our health.
Start your journey to better health. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com, and don't forget to get 35% off your first preferred order by using discount code Fox News.
Snacking could mean that pieces get stuck under Mike's denture. But Super Polygrip gives him a tight seal to help buck out food particles, so he can enjoy the game. Super Polygrip.
The signs are unmistakable. The time to think about retirement is now. Whether you're already retired or thinking it through, your decisions now could determine whether you just retire or retire the way you'd like. Fortunately, Fisher Investments can guide you. Fisher takes the time to understand your goals and tailor a plan to reach them.
See how Fisher's insights keep your retirement on track. Call for the 15-minute retirement plan and learn how much you can spend in retirement, how to make your portfolio last, why to think twice about annuities, and more. 35533.
With Fisher's experience, you can enjoy peace of mind, both before and into your retirement years. If your portfolio is over $500,000,
The problem is that she really was elevated above her ability. She was chosen by Joe Biden not because of her quality of her work or her intellect. It was because she was a woman, and she was a woman of color. And that puts her in a bad position, and it puts America in a terrible position.
That is New York Post columnist Miranda Devine getting into it over Vice President Kamala Harris amid reports of a toxic work environment and an exodus of her staff. But at least one top aide is insisting nothing to see here. Critics still roasting the vice president's deputy director for operations after he tweeted this: "He absolutely loves his job." One reply: "Blink twice if you need help." White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki asked, if somebody put him up to do that.
I'm not aware of any asks for a positive tweet or a specific tweet. I would point you to the Vice President's office, but I work with a number of people in the Vice President's office who certainly are looking forward to continuing their jobs.
Fox News contributor Joe Concha in Focus Now. So, John, this isn't just a bit of palace intrigue. I've been talking with lawmakers. They say, look, this may be a forecast of what's to come within that party as far as leadership. We need to know if people can do the job.
It's a great point, Harris. And you just look at the numbers, right? Let's forget about the palace intrigue and she said and he said. It's clear to see why Kamala Harris's office is in turmoil. She is polling at 28%. She rarely speaks to the press. As many Democrats will tell you, she has an authenticity and likability problem. I'll give you one example of how dire things are. When asked in a recent poll by the Hill and Harris X, who would you support if Joe Biden doesn't seek a second term? Kamala Harris clocked in at 13% supporting the idea. Just ahead of Michelle Obama. That's who finished second, who said repeatedly she's not running. She's mostly been off the grid for 5 years. So that's how Plan B in 2024 is going. And you know there's trouble when you have to send out staffers, sending out those photos looking like they're in a hostage situation, saying they love their job. The question is, what happens next? If an 80-something Joe Biden doesn't run, would they be open to an open primary and start over? I think that is going to be the plan if Joe Biden doesn't run. So that's where we are at this point. And again, we're only 11 months in since they took office.
Yeah, we're only 11 months away from the next go-around of elections and midterms. Chris Cuomo announced yesterday, and you and I have been talking about that this was possible, that he is leaving his SiriusXM radio show just days after CNN fired him. He also reportedly plans to sue CNN for a big chunk of change. Chris Cuomo also facing sexual misconduct accusations, as is his fellow anchor, Don Lemon, who faces claims he acted inappropriately toward a man in a bar on Long Island in 2018. That accuser went after the network, saying, quote, "They're a predator-protecting machine. They slander and smear victims with impunity. They are complicit. This is who they are." That's from an alleged victim. Joe.
Wow. Well, I guess this is the turmoil segment, because speaking of turmoil, CNN should just be called the Chaos News Network at this point, at least internally, right? I mean, first you have Chris Cuomo, who you brought up, the guy who wasn't reprimanded for faking his own quarantine when he had COVID, the guy who wasn't reprimanded for coaching those appearing on the network before interviews on questions and answers. That's fireable alone. The guy who received COVID testing before anyone else did in New York, courtesy of his brother, the guy who attempted to smear credible accusers of sexual harassment and lied about doing so, and now he's going to sue CNN for millions because he says top brass knew about everything he was doing and was okay with it. Boy, if this goes to trial, can you imagine what the discovery stage is going to look like? Because this isn't like the old mob, right? You've seen Goodfellas. You use a payphone so the conversation isn't recorded. You get the feeling there's a paper trail here, Harris. Emails, texts, you name it. You know, and then you have, to your point, anchor Don Lemon.
All right, hold on. Let's slow the train for just a second, because you mentioned a key point, what I call receipts. You talked about that paper trail, the digital trail with Jussie Smollett. Did you see this one coming? The intersection of Jussie Smollett on trial right now and Don Lemon. Yesterday, he testified, Smollett, that he got text messages from Don Lemon, supposedly relaying that the Chicago Police Department didn't believe Smollett's accounting of what happened. And at the time, Lemon told his viewers that the story was personal, since they were acquaintances and they had texted after the alleged 2019 incident. What to make of this?
It's like watching the whole Cuomo episode now replay itself with Don Lemon. Ooh. He tipped off somebody who was under investigation about the Chicago Police Department not believing his story. And that prompted Smollett, according to Smollett, for whatever that's worth, to withhold evidence, such as his phone and those records. So now CNN needs to address this next. But of course they haven't, because they don't do so until they absolutely have to. And you have to wonder, Harris, while all this is going on, what the top shareholder in John Malone of Liberty Media is thinking, because now he's the top shareholder of CNN, because he recently said CNN needs to get back to journalism. He praised Fox News for its journalistic performance in the process.
Many
and said
do.
CNN, yeah. I know, that was interesting. He did so on CNBC, so it's, you know, it's all crazy. Yeah.
Just real quickly, your last thought on where this goes now, because, you know, Don Lemon can say, well, I was just trying to buddy up so I could get the booking of this person for an exclusive interview or something. I mean, but when you talk about receipts, when you have those text messages, your last word.
Yeah, well, the problem is that he told Smollett what he heard from his sources within the Chicago Police Department. So it's no longer like I'm trying to help a friend. You're trying to affect an investigation. This is serious stuff. So this isn't the last time this is going to go away. And I think many changes are going to be made at CNN, both in front of the camera and behind it, because this cannot continue, particularly when you've lost nearly 80% of your audience since the beginning of the year, Harris.
Well, that's cash. And if Chris Cuomo wins any money, that's cash, too. Oh, my goodness. And the big boss watches Fox. Headline. Good to see you. Thank you.
Great to see you. Bye.
Well, look, we're talking about Jussie Smollett. He's back on the stand today, and with that bombshell about CNN's anchor Don Lemon, we're watching this closely. He's facing questions from prosecutors after testifying in his own defense first yesterday, accused of orchestrating that attack on himself and then blaming it on racism.
Duy nhất 12 tháng 12 này, chỉ từ 1K mua được chậm đói siêu voucher tiết kiệm đến 340K.
Come out to update us, Matt.
Harris, Jussie Smollett has been testifying under oath for about an hour now, getting a little bit snarky, a little bit testy with Special Prosecutor Dan Webb. The judge has asked Smollett once or twice now to just use yes or no answers. And Dan Webb has been focusing this morning on the alleged dry run. The Osundaro brothers testified that Smollett basically took them on a practice round to show them where he wanted them to beat him. There is surveillance video showing that Smollett picked the brothers up, and there's also surveillance video showing Smollett circle the stairwell trial where he wanted the brothers to beat him 3 separate times. Smollett claims that he liked to drive around and smoke weed and listen to music, and perhaps that's why he circled that location 3 times. Also, Smollett claims he was calling and messaging with one of the Osunara brothers on the night of the attack about a diet plan and a nutrition plan. But Dan Webb just asked Jussie Smollett why one of the brothers never showed
lên
up
đây
for
thì anh
a
em nhấn vào
scheduled
cái
workout
URL này,
plan on
còn
the
cái ở dưới
morning
là
after
stream
the
lên
alleged attack.
để 3.000 xong rồi nhấn OK. Đó là nó sẽ ra, nó sẽ lưu, nó sẽ tự lưu vào đây. Còn tiếp theo là đến cái Facebook. Cái Facebook thì Facebook. Vậy thì anh em xem. Có thể sử dụng trong vòng Facebook này. Đấy. Facebook cá nhân của anh em 1080 để stream ấy, nó sẽ bị giật và nó sẽ đấy mà anh em là muốn add chữ hay là add gì hay là add web hay là cái gì đấy. Đây này, text, phần text là anh em có thể add chữ vào này. Kéo sang đây. Đấy, text thì anh em có thể viết ở đây. Nó sẽ sang text. Nó sẽ đây, quảng cuốn nhá. Quảng cuốn này, ở dưới này là anh em chỉnh màu. Đây là chỉnh màu chữ vàng này, còn đây là viền chữ đen này. Đây là chữ đậm, chữ nghiêng, gạch chân và chữ gạch chéo, gạch ngang. Đó, tắt đi. Để chữ đậm thôi, thường là mình sẽ bật lên là mình sẽ để chữ đậm. Đó. Cái phần này là căn lề. Ok, cái phần này thì anh em không nên dùng. Còn stroke này là chữ chạy. Đó. Anh em khi viết chữ xong rồi vào setup màu mè các kiểu các thứ ở trong này rồi thì anh em nhấn OK. Và anh em tiếp tục qua đây có một cái phần text này, text nó sẽ có chữ quang cuốn luôn, anh em có thể click vào màn hình. Đó, nó sẽ lên một cái ô. Anh em có thể chỉnh nó bé đi hoặc là nó dài ra. Đó, nó dài ra hoặc là nó bé đi. Anh em muốn để như thế nào thì tùy vào cái màn hình stream của anh em muốn để cái gì. Đó. Xong cái phần text rồi thì mình sẽ tắt đi nha, mình xóa đi. Và đến cái phần add hình ảnh lên màn hình stream. Anh em có thể add hình ảnh hoặc là để cái những logo của nhà tài trợ hay là logo mà nhà quảng cáo thì thuê anh em đặt lên stream thì đây anh em vào phần media file thì nó có thể add đây. Media file thì nó sẽ mở ra một cái file gọi là anh em vào cái nào cũng được, download này, my computer các thứ. Đấy. Vào đây thì mình lấy bừa một cái logo có phát quấn đi. Đấy thì anh